What has been your all-time favorite cinematic experience? I'm not asking you what your favorite film is. I'm asking you to think back to a specific scene, a specific moment. A moment that instilled a very visceral emotion. An emotion that you know you felt, but perhaps couldn't put into words, nor explain why you felt it. It is these moments that make cinema an art form. I'm certain this idea will have been analysed elsewhere and been given many different names, but I wanted to give my interpretation of what I'm calling the cinematic moment. I want to start with an example that is relatively easy to identify. Music in film. Oftentimes it is the soundtrack that can make a scene more exhilarating or expressive. Music can effortlessly set the tone of a scene. For instance, take this scene from The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. In the halls of Moria, Gandalf protects the Fellowship from the Balrog before being swept into the depths of Khazad-dûm. During his descent, one of the most memorable musical compositions of the entire trilogy initiates and invites the audience to a spectacle that elicits feelings of triumph. Of course, keep in mind that this is all subjective, but hopefully this will start to get you thinking beyond the surface level of how a film might provoke an emotional response. Let me play another couple clips where I think the music enhances the scene. Even out of context, I think you can start to get an idea of what I mean.
It's funny, but I miss him. Wonder if he misses me. Misses the boys.
How did that make you feel? It will be different for everyone, because your tastes and sensibilities will vary from someone else's, but I suspect that you must have felt some sort of inner sensation. Was it nostalgia? Was it wonder? Let's try something else. One of the most important times to execute a cinematic moment is in the opening scene of a film. This is because the opening scene is a vital time to grasp the audience's attention. The way to do this is by starting the film with something alluring. This can be in the form of a title sequence or a cold open. It is in this instance that different ways of forcing an effective bodily reaction in an audience can begin converging and intertwining. For example, among other things, music often plays a big part in the opening scene of a film. However, music doesn't always need to be present in order to create a powerful opening sequence. Sometimes the absence of music is what creates audience stimulation. Okay, so now we're starting to get into the swing of things. I'd like to move on and discuss moments in film that are intrinsically cinematic in the way that they're depicted. This is where it starts to become difficult to articulate how they evoke emotion because they transcend language. Their functionality isn't easily put into words because they're visual in nature. Let's have a look and attempt to deconstruct this concept. In Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, one of Ramona's 7 evil exes, Todd Ingram, has supernatural abilities. Yes, there are obvious cues that are a representation of his powers, which are great, but there are subtle ones that I find far more inspired. Take a look at this shot. In a single pan of the camera, director Edgar Wright was able to give the impression of teleportation without being blatant. He could have cheated it and cut between two shots, making him disappear from one place and then appear in another, but he didn't. He did it in real time in one fluent motion to make it feel more authentic. I find it is this type of imaginative visual dexterity that makes films much more exciting. In my opinion, this is the epitome of a cinematic moment. Let's look at another. In James Cameron's Avatar, this scene shows the Colonel entering an amp suit and jumping out of an aircraft a split second before it explodes. Maybe I'm alone in this, but I thought this scene was spectacular. Why is this? In the film, the character is an antagonist. In order for the protagonists to succeed, he needs to be stopped. Yet, when he makes the jump and survives, it's thrilling. I believe this is because some sort of internal and even involuntary feeling of adrenaline is prompted by visuals that are larger than life. Here is another example of that. Just to clarify, these cinematic moments don't have to be big action set pieces. There are very intimate character studies that can achieve them as well.
Are you finished?
No, I'm not finished. There's nothing in here about technique. There's nothing in here about structure. Nothing in here about intention. It's just a bunch of crappy opinions backed up by even crappier comparisons. You write a couple of paragraphs, and you know what? None of this costs you fucking anything. You risk nothing. Nothing. Well, I'm a fucking actor. This play cost me everything.
This is where we get into the deeper level of a character's mindset and are thereby able to relate personally. Have you ever put a lot of effort into creating anything that was instantaneously dismissed by someone else? I bet you have, and Michael Keaton's character, Regan Thompson, clearly has too, and that's why his confrontation with the critic is so satisfying. We live vicariously through him as a vessel to vent our frustration, because we all know what it's like to be judged unfairly. This, by every right, is a cinematic moment.
I'm gonna kill your play.
Overall, I'm only touching the surface of this concept and its implications, but I'll leave you by saying that I believe the primary influence is immersion. Once you are immersed, you are at the filmmaker's mercy, and once you're at the filmmaker's mercy, that is when the cinematic moment will reveal itself.